This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading professionals and experts on better health, relationships, career, finance, investing, and more. Maybe you want to kick a bad habit or start a good one. If you're interested in learning how to master your emotions and hearing scientifically backed advice for using your emotions as a tool, may I suggest Shift by psychologist and bestseller author Dr. Ethan Kross? Trust me, listening on Audible can help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Welcome back to Connect with Jonathan Mark. Guys, I want to say first and foremost, the response to this podcast has been overwhelmingly just so amazing, and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. But I also want to apologize because this episode is long overdue. This is a question and answer episode that you guys send in. Now, you guys send them in via Instagram at Jonathan Mark Medium or email connectjonathanmark@gmail.com. I am so sorry that it took so long. We have so many to get through. This may be a part 1, part 2. We don't even know yet because there's been so many, but we so enjoy when you send them in. So please do not stop. You can send them with just audio or you can text them out. It doesn't really matter. Let's jump right into this. Let's get to our first question. This one was submitted via email at connectjonathanmark@gmail.com, and it's an audio one. Let's get into it.
Hello there. I'm Emily from Arcadia Falls, Oregon, and my wife and I are huge fans of your show. I've always been curious about what it feels like when you're being contacted. Do you have any physical sensations such as itching or cramps, or is it all purely mental? Oh, also, does the emotional state of whatever entity is trying to reach out affect what you feel? If they're angry or anxious, do you start feeling any of that as well?
Wow. Well, thank you for the question. And let me get into this one for you. I know sometimes people always will say that they have an itch when energies are coming through, but the way that it comes through to me, it is kind of physical, but I would say more on the mental side. When I'm being contacted by spirits, energy, whatever you guys want to call it, I get migraines. My head just starts to explode. I start to sweat. And I reference this a lot when I talk to people, but just imagine you're working out and you're working out a muscle that you don't typically work out often. So anytime that you even go to that muscle to work it out, it gets strained and it gets really sore very quickly. That's exactly kind of how it goes. And that's why you guys see me when I record, when I do readings, anything, I'm always in a sweatshirt because I sweat profusely. I mean, it's pretty bad, actually. Also, when it comes to the emotional state, I will say this. When they come through, they hold their personality. So if they were very stoic, they're going to come through stoic. If they were very outgoing, they're going to come through very outgoing. That's typically what happens. But depending on circumstances, they will come through different emotional states, I will say. If there's unfinished business, which I know we all have that with our loved ones, but typically when it comes to a situation that they were a part of and they were taken away too soon, they will come through and explain that emotional state of oh my God, I need to get this done. This needs to be said. I want it this way. Or really, if they pass and there's turmoil that kind of ensues from their passing or after they pass, they will also come through pretty like intense because they want you guys to know truly that they don't want people fighting over their passing, or they will share their opinions. So it typically can go so many different ways. But when I do readings also, I know a lot of people can probably see this. I always stare off or I crack my neck. That's like my way of getting into the zone and knowing that I'm connecting with someone. Anytime you see me stare off and I crack my neck, or I just move my head in a cracking neck motion, that's typically when you know, all right, he's connecting. Thank you, Emily. That was a fantastic question. Guys, we're getting another audio question. And again, just a reminder, if you want to send audio questions, all you have to do is email connectjonathanmark@gmail.com. All right, guys, let's get into the next question.
Are spirits ever angry or upset, or do they seem carefree?
This one comes from Diane from Michigan. And I want to say that's a very interesting question. And I just want to get into it because it's a little complex. So the first thing is this: do they come through carefree? I will definitely say that they do, because when they come through to the other side, I always want to explain to people that they kind of drop all their stress, all their fears or anything that we as humans on this earth kind of carry day to day. So you can say that they're carefree. However, going and tailoring off of the question before, they can come across angry depending on situational things. And people will often say, like, what situational thing can it be? Or people just don't really understand that. And I want to explain to you guys that when I talk about this, any anger, anything like that, that really happens has to do with them before they pass, like things that lead up to it, right? So, or things when they were younger, or things that they can look back at now, because their time on the other side is extremely different than our time. Our time, we go by seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years. They don't. So they can look back at an entire life with a snap of a finger and kind of go through the things that they're like, wait a minute, that really wasn't great. And a lot of the times when like readings happen or like energies come through in a reading and they're upset, angry, or whatever, they will typically share with me that I don't get that sensation that they come through and they're just so mad, so angry. They just express that they're like, hey, wait a minute. I kind of wish this was done this way, but hindsight's 2020. And I always say to people too, the moment that they do cross over, and again, it's kind of the carefree take that you were saying and I was mentioning as well too, but it's really, they drop everything. They just drop any type of emotion that they have, and they kind of go into things looking at it very full picture, not, black or white or something. Thank you so much, Diane. Great question.
Hi, this is Emily from Dayton, and I wanted to know if there's anything or someone or something that's ever really scared you or freaked you out during a reading.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for sending that question. And guys, if you want to send audio questions, all you have to do is send an email at connectjonathanmark@gmail.com. But I've had a few instances where I was a little, I want to say freaked out. Maybe my stomach turned a little bit. I've shared this story maybe once or twice, not on here, but just like in general. There was a time where I was doing a reading, and I'm doing a reading and it's for an aunt and then her nephew and niece. And they were not very nice people, right? So I'm sitting there and I turn to the kid, so like the nephew, and I see something and I'm like, holy crap. So instead of saying it in front of everyone, and this is what freaked me out, I saw from doing a reading that he was planning a mass attack on people, essentially. And the reason why that freaked me out was because I guess you can't really pinpoint while looking at someone being like, this person will do this or that person will do that. I did not think that sitting down with these people, that this situation was even a thing. So instead of saying it in front of them, I asked the nephew or the kid, I said, hey, can we go into a private room? I go, I just don't want to say this in front of them. I go, it's really private. So I shared that I see that he's meeting up with people and they want to plan like essentially a hate attack on a group. You would think that he would be in shock and you think that he would be like, like, oh my God, like, no, no, no. He smiled and was just like, yeah, like that's pretty impressive that you found that out and you were naming the people I was going to see. And he goes, yeah, like this is kind of like therapy, right? Like you can't go off, like a therapist can't go off and say things. And I'm staring at him because what freaked me out was he showed no empathy. So then obviously I contacted, law enforcement and stuff. But another instance as well is when I do a lot of these unsolved cases. Now you guys think that like I kind of just show up, turn a switch on, do my thing, turn a switch off, and go home. There's been times where I've spoken to serial killers and murderers. And as I'm doing the readings and stuff, again, there's like a lack of empathy, but also finding out more about a situation and how they find it amusing. It's kind of like when you uncover things about a case or when you're dealing with that and the murderer is still alive and you're kind of doing the reading for law enforcement, but you're reading the murderer or the, suspect, they smile and they laugh and they chuckle and it opens up like a whole other thing. And I sit there and I'm like, how can these people find it funny like it's a game? Like those are the stuff that really turns my stomach a lot when I do it, because it's strange because again, it's like you're talking about the worst thing and they find it amusing. I can't wrap my head around it. So those are the instances where it disturbs me to like no end, where like people say don't take your work home. It's like very hard not to take your work home. And I carry the emotion of like feeling a little disgusted and also confused and also like, what did I just like walk into? But again, Emily, thank you so much for that question. You definitely made me think a little bit and brought up some memories there. I just want to say I am so blown away, guys, that you respond so positively with this show and that you guys engage so much, ask questions. And not only that, you help out families with these unsolved cases. And it means so much to me and the families. And I know we're only a handful of episodes in, but it's been such a surreal experience. And I want to say thank you guys so much for making this such a dream for me. So thank you. Okay, guys, let's get to some more questions. This is our first written question, and it comes from Instagram, which is Jonathan Mark Medium, and it is sent anonymously. Has a spirit ever contacted you to warn someone about an undiagnosed medical condition like cancer or a tumor? Like, has someone's deceased family member come to you and said that they are sick and need to go to a doctor? Whoa. Well, I will say this, that it comes typically in a reading, and I'll give you a little situation and a story about that. I had a reading and I was speaking to someone and her husband passed away, unfortunately, which is super sad. So I'm doing the reading, and halfway through the reading, maybe a little bit more than halfway, I turn to her and I say to her someone's name, and she looks at me and she goes, well, that person is my husband's friend, but like, nothing important to me. And I go, well, your husband keeps showing to me and keeps tapping his heart and squeezing his heart. I go, he needs to go to a hospital. And she's like, okay. Like he's fairly healthy. Like, I don't know if that's like relevant. And I go, well, I just have to say it, and please just at least tell him, and whatever happens, happens, as far as like if he goes to a doctor or not. And she's like, okay. So she mentions it to him and he goes, I don't believe in this crap. Like a typical Long Island guy. I guess some days went on, maybe a week. And I guess he was replaying what this woman said to him, and he went to a doctor. And the doctor goes, holy crap, we need to bring you to the hospital right now. So basically what happened is, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the Widowmaker, but his arteries were essentially like almost clogged, where if he was like walking around for another day or two, he would have had a massive heart attack and passed away. So they brought him to the hospital and immediately did open heart surgery to him to save his life. And then at that point, it takes a while to recover. Months go by. The woman reaches out to me and she goes, "Hey, can I pass along your number to someone? You're going to want to hear what he has to say." And at first I was like, oh crap. I'm like, did I say something? I'm like, I don't think I did. I'm like, I don't know. And he writes me this long, long text. So much so that he took me out for like coffee to like talk to me about it. He basically was just telling me that how he never believed in this stuff, thought this stuff was all like, I use this term a lot, but he basically said like hocus pocus bullshit kind of. And he basically was saying to me, he explained what I said to the woman and what the woman said to him. And then what the doctor said to him aligns pretty identically. And he was saying that no one knew about this. He didn't even know about it. So he was completely blown away by that. And when those instances happen, because I've done other medical stuff that is similar, but that one stood out to me only because the woman wasn't even going to tell him. And I had to keep pushing it. And eventually it's like, it's kind of up to her to do it. I can't force someone to do something. So those situations are absolutely crazy. They still like freak me out. I'm like, how the heck did I do this? I'm like, I don't even know. It freaks me out a little bit. But thank you for that question, whoever you are.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code Wondery for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code Wondery at checkout.
I have a question about pets. I've heard other mediums say that they can channel pets, and I was wondering, is that something Jonathan's ever experienced?
Michelle, thank you so much for that question. It's a great question, but I just want to continuously remind you guys, do not forget you can email me at connectjonathanmark@gmail.com and submit audio questions, and I can answer them just like this. But Michelle, great question. Great question. I know I keep saying I want to lean into a story because that's how I give my examples to you guys instead of just saying yes or no. But the truth is this. The truth is that can I connect to animals? Yes. Do I speak animal? No. So basically what happens is that I use a family member that has passed away or a friend to pass along messages from the animal because it's very hard to talk to a dog, to a cat, to a parrot, to a horse. And I get specific information from them, like names and things like that. And again, I want to give you an example. So one day, a friend of mine, actually a friend of my parents reached out and goes, I lost, a dog. Can Jonathan do this? I'm devastated, as I was when I lost my dog. So I get what he was feeling. So I'm like, okay. So I knew the dog's name just because I knew the person, right? So it's like, I can't really say that. So all of a sudden, I'm seeing literally hair falling onto my lap and in a Ziploc bag, right? Like not literally like real hair. So I say to him, I go, your dog is here because a family member is showing to me. But I'm like, the way to validate it is I see that you're holding a Ziploc bag of your dog's hair in your pocket. And you saw his face drop. I mean, he was standing in front of me. He was wearing jeans, like, in a sweatshirt. You can't really see a Ziploc bag with like cut hair, right? And also, you can't really just assume that someone's carrying that with them 24/7 or just in general, right? Like, so he looks at me and starts tearing up and pulls out a bag of the dog's hair. And like, that's how I really communicate. It's like, I try to have your family members, your friends validate specific things about the pet, like maybe what the pet did and like silly things like that, where it's like only you and the pet like knew like if they did like grabbing your socks. Like I'm using that as an example. But that's how I'm able to connect. And I'm sure there's other mediums or other people that do connect to animals. It's just the way that I do it is I need to connect through a family member or a friend to get specific information. But again, Kelly, thank you so much for that question.
What's the strangest request you've ever gotten from a spirit?
B, thank you for that question. And do I have a story for you guys? And again, I know I keep saying that, but seriously, I do. There's a couple of requests that I think is strange, right? I mean, I don't know if they're even considered requests more than just like pointing something out to someone. But there was one time I was doing a group reading, and this is like back in the day when I used to show up to people's homes with a backpack of Gatorade, and I didn't know anyone. And my mom would drop me off because I'm like, who and where am I going? So I went to someone's house, and it was there was two things that in that group reading that kind of I think stood out to me, where it was a weird request for me to do. So I'm going around in the group reading and I'm trying to hit every single person. I get up to the first male, and his father comes through. I'll never forget this. His father comes through, and his father keeps smiling and laughing to tell him to tug at his hair, like to tug at his hair. And now you guys are probably thinking, why the hell would someone's dad do that, right? As I was, right? I was like, okay. So I straight up told him, I go, this is really weird. And I know it's weird, but your father keeps telling me to tell you to tug at your hair. Now everyone starts dying laughing. Everyone. And I don't get the joke at all. So I'm standing there being like, is this a joke? I don't really understand. And he goes, okay, and tugs his hair. And I think it was like a toupee or like a wig or something. And he pulls it right off his head. And I guess there was an inside joke because the dad would always give his son crap about wearing toupees and how silly they may look on him. But again, I just want to remind you, I didn't know a single person there. So when I asked for him to do that, because the dad requested him to do that, I kind of felt super embarrassed. And then, trust me, the story doesn't end, because then I go and it's the last person, and it's this guy. And his partner passed away. And his partner was like touching his teeth and then touching the pocket of the guy who I'm speaking to. And I'm like, sitting there staring like, how do I say this to this person? And what does this even mean, right? Because sometimes I don't really know what some of this stuff means. I just tell people, and I stop and I look at him, I go, your partner keeps tapping your pocket and he keeps telling me or showing to me, smiling and touching his teeth. And the guy looks at me, and everyone in the group didn't know this. So they were looking at me too, like, what the heck is this kid saying? And I said it, I go, he wants you to empty your pockets. Now that sounds like a cop or someone who's robbing someone, right? But that's not the reason. So the guy looks at me and looks at his family, starts emptying his pockets, and has the teeth of his partner in a Ziploc bag in his pocket. And now, again, I just want to remind you guys that this all happened in one group reading. This wasn't like separate stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy crap, these people probably hate me. Like everyone probably hates me. So the reading finishes and I get up and I grab my backpack. I'm like, I need to beeline the hell out of here. And I go, they stop me and they're like, so thankful, which was super nice. And then they're like, how the hell did you know this stuff? And I look at them with like, the honest truth. I'm like, I don't even know how I knew this stuff. Like, it's like, I have no idea. So that was a pretty weird request where I had to say it in front of a group of people that I had no idea about. But I just want to say thank you, B, for that amazing question. All right, guys, this is our last question, and it's a written one. And this came from Caden through my Instagram, which, guys, you can send them through my Instagram too at Jonathan Mark Medium. We've heard you joke about not being able to tell the future, or else you would go to, get the lotto numbers, which, guys, I definitely would. But has there been a spirit warn you about a person you are reading about a future event? Has there ever been a prediction that has come true? Man, Caden. All right, guys, I want to tell you a really positive one. And again, I was reminded about this not too long ago. So for a while, someone was trying to come and see me, and I didn't really understand the reason why they were so persistent in like seeing me. And then I realized it was an unsolved case. And I know we always tie back into it. And the reason why I'm saying it's positive is because they get an answer that helped close their father's case. Now, this case took place in Chicago, and I don't know if the person wants me to say it, their father's name, but we're doing a reading and, the unsolved case. And now, again, I just want to remind you, this wasn't like sent to me through law enforcement. This was just someone who was persistently reaching out to me for a reading constantly. So I do the reading, I'm talking to them, and I bring up someone's name, and I said, they know who took your father's life. And they were there. And the daughter was like, there's no way. The police investigated this person. There's no shot. He was investigated for a while, questioned, everything. He wasn't a person of interest, all that stuff. And I'm like, I do think you need to revisit him. Months go by. I get an email from her again. And she goes, you're not going to believe this. Can we jump on a phone call or like a Zoom or something? And I said, okay. So my mind's racing. I'm like, what the heck just happened? Well, it turns out that she full court pressed this guy. And what I mean by that is I kind of just showed up at his house and was like, we need to talk. And it turned out that he did witness the murder and knew exactly who did it. Now, yes, that's great. The reason why that I'm bringing this story up is because this family was broken for so long. And you can see the weight of the daughter, of her mom, of her other siblings, kind of like now they know who did it. I was happy because I kept saying, I'm like, you're going to find an answer. And I kept saying at this time from this person. And it was that time at that person. And again, you guys may be like, oh, like, that's cool. I'm telling you, it's such a big deal because a lot of these times, these people will never get answers and never know who really did it. And the fact that I was able to help them and tell them the time of when it's going to happen, that's also something that I was like blown away about. And then there's also times too where people have issues with many different things in their lives, whether it comes to, work, personal, etc. And there's been things where I've helped people with, but I always try to focus on the major things in people's lives just because those are the things that consumes people's minds a lot more than the very small, insignificant stuff. So, wow, Caden, thank you for that question. Again, guys, I just want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you, especially for sending questions in. And I do want to remind you guys, we have so much more, and we're going to be doing this more often because we have so much, but please continue to send questions, whether it's at my email, connectjonathanmark@gmail.com, or my Instagram, TikTok at JonathanMarkMedium. I just want to say again, thank you for joining me this week. Please do not forget to rate and review the show. It helps out so much. All right, guys, I will see you next week.